guys, so here we are on Boom Roasted. I'm Stephanie, and I'm with Stephanie Sanders. She's with the Fact Agency. We're going to talk a little more about that. Yes, this is three Stephanies. I have said this, all nonprofit people that do amazing things are named Stephanie.
That's right.
Because there's a lot of us. And that's why, like I said before, I usually just call all of you by your last names when I'm talking to other people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're like, Stephanie who,
Who are you talking
in
about
the
today?
circles. Yeah. So today, she's not a coffee drinker, guys.
I'm not.
Please don't put anything negative in the comments. She's drinking hot tea. What flavor did you end up getting?
I did the strawberry flavor. So
Okay, all right. But she did have hot tea and not coffee. I even sent her the message because I always ask my guests, like, what do you want to drink? And she was like, I don't do coffee. I was
said,
like,
no, thank you to coffee, but I will drink hot tea.
I judged her a little, but then we moved on. But I'm drinking a shaken espresso today.
Okay.
So even though you're not a coffee drinker, the process is really interesting.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to share a video about it. But you basically drop the shot, a hot shot, and then you shake it until it foams, and then add it to your ice along with whatever flavor. I used caramel today, and then you add your milk to it. The difference in it, because it's my favorite drink at Starbucks, and I feel like it's the one they kind of are consistent no matter where you go.
Okay.
But it keeps the strength of the espresso. So a lot of times with lattes, I feel like you're just drinking like flavored milk, basically. And I need to taste it.
Yeah, sure.
So I feel like that this like maintains the strength of it somehow when in the shaking process. So anyway, that's my favorite. But
Okay. I'm glad. I'm happy for you.
you're happy for me? She doesn't want it,
I'm
but
so
she's happy for
you.
me. But yeah, so that's what we're doing today is as enjoying drinks together and talking about nonprofit work
Yeah.
and homeschooling
Yes.
and Jesus.
Yes.
So all of those are
Favorite.
combined for us because we are women of faith.
Yes.
And so you are with an agency called Fact.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Okay, so FACT stands for Families and Communities Together. I've been with FACT for now 6 years, and we're in our rebidding year. That means we pretty much have to rewrite our grant.
Oh, goodness.
And so we're hopeful. We're
Yeah.
very hopeful. We were invited to write, so we were like, that's a good sign.
Right.
But pretty much what I do is help anyone who's on probation or parole in our county, which is within our district.
Mhm.
And I pretty much help them get any basic items that they
Okay.
need. Clothing, birth certificate, some things for like glasses, rent, emergency housing, things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Now, you dentures sometimes because we
dentures
prefer.
sometimes.
Yeah.
We do that. And sometimes we've helped with some really weird things,
Yeah.
like medical things
Mm.
that I wouldn't have thought that we would help with. So,
Yeah.
you just got to put in the referral in.
And it's basically, tell me why it's made, like, what is that grant specifically for? I know it's for that people group, but what are they hoping, like, to be able to do for people in that group?
So our real hope is really to make sure people stay on the right track. A lot of times people come out, they can't get access to things like housing or just a birth certificate or a driver's license.
Yeah.
They don't have any family help or they don't really have any community help. So that's where our grant is really unique. It comes in and say, okay,
Right.
you want your ID, we can get you an ID. Now you want a driver's license, let's go get you a driver's license. We have paid for permits before. We provide like landlord lists and help them go through the process of getting an apartment or anything like
Yeah.
that. And it's just kind of to be that financial support for them, which most of them do not have. And so
Mhm.
it's a good way to say, we want you to stay on the right track and we don't want to shoot you down. We want
Yeah.
to make sure that we can uplift you and get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, and I think too, something that a lot of people don't know is if they have felonies, if I'm correct, they
Mhm.
can't get food stamps.
Correct. Correct.
So they're not eligible for that. So just like a person coming out of jail, trying to get their first job, trying to get on their feet.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, because a lot of those, if they don't have family, they're supposed to have a family plan when they get
Sure.
out of jail.
Yep.
But many have burnt their bridges so much. And I'm
Yep.
sure that that's a difficult step to figure
Yes.
out what to do from there. And then on top of that, then I can't get food stamp help. So I'm having to figure out how to do all of this on my own.
Right.
And many that have been lost in addiction, like they have no life
Right.
skills.
Right.
So it's kind of setting up for failure a lot
Yeah.
of times just to kind of push them out. So, I mean, we've definitely referred people to you guys
Yeah.
for that program or have gotten help for people who have come out of jail. You've helped. We had a guy that got his first job that had been homeless out of jail,
Yeah.
and you guys helped him with his clothes for his job. And and you see some of those success cases, but I know that some of it's heartbreaking work,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think when you see someone, you want the best for the clients that you have. And
Mm,
you are like, take this step, do this, and you can tell them everything to do.
yeah.
But it doesn't sink in. It
Right.
doesn't, they don't really move on those things, or they're afraid to move on those things. They don't know. The unknown is so, it's so bad for them. So they're like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. And then they revert to what they used to do all the
Right.
time.
Because it feels easy.
Yeah, it feels easy, and it's lonely when you have your friends and you no longer want to be a part of that, and you try to move on.
Yeah.
And some people that have moved on with their life or have never been in that situation, they don't necessarily want to be friends with you. So that your community is gone and you have to build from the bottom up. And so they tend to just say, "No, I'm good. I'm just going to go back to what I'm doing." I'm like, "No, don't do that."
That's so hard. And
Yeah.
then I know it's hard for you guys too because you work so hard to get these grants.
Yeah.
And then you have to really assess, are we throwing our money
Yeah.
away
Yeah.
here? Or is this a person that really needs help? How do you guys make that decision?
It is very hard. I usually have like, "Hey, listen, I want to help you. I will always help someone who's progressing,
Mhm.
always. But I will try to give at least two chances. If
Yeah.
you lost your apartment and then you found another apartment, I will give you that second chance. But after that, I have to really be like, really say no, because
Yeah.
I have like 150 clients right now.
Right.
And so for one client, if I did that for every client, we would have no
Mhm.
money. We would have no
Right.
money.
And it's
Uh,
hard to make those
it is. It
decisions.
is.
And we were an independent organization when we started, but we had to kind of figure out like what some things that we have to put into place
Yeah.
to keep our shelves just from being empty.
Yeah.
So we've had to put things in place. And people who are in like poverty cycles or just cycles of addiction,
Sure.
it's really hard for them to be consistent.
Yeah.
And that's something we found. So we had to put, because we do the emergency food bags.
Mhm.
And so the reason ours are in place is for people who don't have transportation,
Sure.
don't have access to other food banks.
Yeah.
And so we had to put it in place that after the second time, we have to sit down and meet with you
Yeah.
so we can try to help you get out of the emergency
Right.
situation.
Right.
See what else we can get you connected with. What
Right.
are you already accessing? But I will tell you that 97% of the time, they just don't. They won't
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just like, oh, this
That's
is
it.
really for you,
Yeah.
to help you get to that next place where it's not just, let me get the handout.
Yeah.
And even though I think most of the people legitly need what we're offering,
Sure.
but
Absolutely.
then like that step of it feels like, I don't know. I don't know what they tell themselves that keeps them from taking that
Yeah.
step to being like, oh, wait, like I could come in and maybe she could help me
Yeah.
like get to a place where I could go grocery shopping
Yeah.
by
It's almost like
myself.
it's paralyzing for them.
Yeah.
Like it's so scary just to do something new or to do something different
Right.
to help yourself. And sometimes I really think it's generational too, like
I
how they
think
grew
so.
up and
Hmm.
how they see their family and their peers and their friends and the community that they're in, how they do things. So it's
Yeah.
normalized, and it's really sad because
It is
it's like
sad.
we want you to do
Hmm.
better.
Well,
This
and
is
it's
not a life.
people of faith too. Like we're built. If you're raised in a place of faith that teaches this, they should be. But like that, we should dream. We should try to figure out like what we were made for.
Yeah.
Like what is our uniqueness? What are we supposed to be doing with our
Yeah.
life? Asking those kind of questions is so foreign to a person who's poor.
Yeah.
And or a person who is stuck in some sort of cycle, like
Yeah.
especially like with our international travels, that's something like we've done a lot of research on, that they're taught not to dream because dreams don't feed you.
Wow.
And like I heard that from a minister in the countries we go to in the Caribbean, and it said that like, sure, you can paint, sure, you are really good at music, but is it going to buy groceries? Like, is it going to keep you from being homeless? If it doesn't, they said they can't afford to dream.
Wow.
And that just made me like, the heaviness of that is so sad. But I think like, even though in the United States, there's so many more resources. And if our poor people went to other countries, they realize they're not poor on
Yeah.
the world
Right.
standards.
Right.
But it's still an issue, and it can be locked in generationally and mentally.
Yeah.
because the access that they actually have to all these programs, like the first time I took John, our worship leader, so he's from Trinidad,
Mm-hmm.
he moved here and we were helping him get his first apartment. So I was connecting him with the resources to get his first place before he got his first check. And we went to NECAC and they gave him groceries for his first house. And it filled up the back of his car, and he was like the back seat of his car. And he said, Stephanie, he's like, do you know what people would do for this in other countries?
Wow.
Because when we do food giveaways in these other countries, we're doing like a big grocery bag and like a small plastic bag that has like, eggs and butter and things like that, but mostly dried goods,
Yeah.
and they're so excited about it. And then like John got a whole back seat of food. And he's like, this place would have lines like down the street, like if people knew that this was available. And I said, I know. And I think that's the comparison. And if you don't go outside of the bubble of the United States and don't see those kinds of things, you don't realize what a blessing like agencies like this is, because they don't exist everywhere.
Right. Exactly.
And so especially like even what I've learned being in Hannibal, I lived in other states. I lived in Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida, and I didn't know that there was so many agencies that would be in one place. It didn't exist everywhere I was from, even like some of the bigger ones like United Way, Salvation Army, places like that. But even here, seeing all the agencies and how they work together, that isn't everywhere either.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like even I have friends that are prayer partners with me in Florida, and they're trying to like figure out like how do I do what I do as far as building relationships with other agencies and finding out what's available so I can best help people.
Yeah.
And they said we are making phone calls, and there aren't places like that here. They found like a church or one individual nonprofit,
Wow.
but and of course housing authority and things like that that exist. So I think we're really blessed in our area too. A lot of people complain, but I'm just like, I don't know. This is pretty great that we have all these agencies that work together, and we don't all have to try to do it ourselves, because that's overwhelming.
It does help to have so many different agencies to lean on,
Yes.
because when we're out of funding, what
Right.
do? I go to other agencies and say,
Exactly.
I need help with these clients.
Right.
And I can always plug people into different things that I don't have necessarily for them. Like we don't have a food bank.
Yeah.
So I can buy groceries, of course, but if I don't have funding to buy groceries, then I know who to go to.
Right. And you know where you can refer them to.
Yeah.
And that's an awesome thing. And that's I think people are very communal here when it comes to that sort of thing, always thinking outside the box and trying to fill in those gaps.
Yeah.
But I think as people of faith, so tell me like how your faith plays into your decision even to do nonprofit work.
So when when I think about serving and helping others, sometimes it's a real like laborious thing. And I think when I think about my job and I help people, I think about how lonely people can be. And I think that that's something that we all need as community. Like, we need community. And so really when I think about that, I'm like, Jesus was in community and we need to be the same for other people. Like he didn't shy people up like, oh, you're not on my level, you're not my status. He didn't do that.
No.
So we can't do that as people. And so when it comes to the work I do, I really want people to know, like, I'm here for you. I care about you, but I'm also going to be honest with you.
Yes.
Like some people think it's just, you just have to be nice. And it's like, no, I want to be real and honest with you.
Sure.
Jesus is not like that. He's not going to be like, well, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
It's like, so I want to do that. I want to be there for you, but I also want to be honest with you. And if I see something in your life that's like, hey, this is hurting you. Like this girlfriend of yours, you need to let her go. This boyfriend of yours, you need to let him go.
Yeah.
Because they're just holding you back.
Yeah.
I'm being honest with you because I see it. Like you're everything you do is doing for this person. I'm like, that's not good. That's not healthy. Don't do that. Even when clients say, you don't know what it's like to do that. I'm just like, you don't know where I've been. Okay?
Exactly.
So really just to give a testimony to them about my life on top of like, now you could be honest with me and be real with me.
Right.
And so like just faith and, Lord, I know you have the bigger picture. And
Mhm.
when I have to make hard decisions on whether or not I'm going to spend money on someone, if I'm not, it's not because I'm like, oh, nope, you're done. It's like, I really have to think of other people,
Right.
but I can help you in other ways. I
Yeah.
always give other resources. I'm never like, okay, bye, kick you to the curb. I'm
Yeah.
always giving other resources. So
Right.
it is a hard decision, but they have to be made.
They do,
They have
they
to be
do.
made.
And I think what you said about like sharing that testimony to connect with people, God knows what he's doing when he puts us in places like
Right.
that. And I think a lot of times when people are stuck in their story because they don't know it can be different,
Yeah.
they don't realize that the Lord will use that. He doesn't create those situations for us,
Right.
but he will use those to minister and connect with other
Right.
people.
Yeah.
So we can draw other people out once
Yeah.
we get out. And I even learned that like going to other countries because it can be intimidating on both sides,
Mhm.
as an American going to other countries and also for the other people, because oftentimes, honestly, America gets a really bad reputation because we can be quite snotty
Yeah.
and act like we have it all together. And it makes people withdraw from you
Sure.
because they think you're looking down at them, you're
Right.
disrespecting their culture and their place. And I found early on, because I got thrown into like a teenage room, 75 girls. And the very first year I ever went to Trinidad, and I thought they spoke English. And so they told me they spoke English, but it didn't sound like English to me. And I was so intimidated. And these girls were rough. They come from some rough places,
Mhm.
and they were giving me some grief in there. And I didn't even know how to communicate back to them. Like, how do I connect with them? Because I realized there's a disconnect here.
Mhm.
And I just really prayed about it the second day because I was just so intimidated by the whole situation. And teenage girls aren't my favorite people. I would much rather be with babies or boys, just because boys just tend to be more honest and
Sure.
straightforward.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that a lot. But for that, the next day when I came in, I started out different, and I just shared like my testimony, just shared where I'd come from, how I grew up. And then I just seen all these walls come down
Yeah.
because it was like suddenly like we're all people.
Yeah.
We've all had similar struggles no
Yeah.
matter where we've come from, and what that looks like. So I think when people realize you can be real with them,
Yeah.
and that although that's not where I am now,
Right. Yeah.
I understand what that means and what
Yeah.
that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Testimonies really break down those walls. It's like
absolutely.
it makes you human to someone. And
Yeah,
like, oh, we are very similar. We're not
yeah,
that much different. Then
yeah.
people start to realize that. Like, oh, okay, well, I can talk to you. Like, yeah, you
Exactly.
can.
Yeah, and I realized it changed whenever so the first day they called me Mrs. White Lady. That was my name. And because on that part of the island there were no white people and I stood out obviously. But yeah, they called me Mrs. White Lady and I hated it so much. But on day 2, after I shared my testimony, they started calling me Auntie.
Wow.
And everyone there that I'd known before I came said, that is a compliment.
Yeah,
That
that's
means that was a
awesome.
warm, like a term of endearment for them to
Yeah.
call me auntie, and a term of respect.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh gosh, thank you, Lord, that I listened to you because this was so hard,
Yeah.
and it just learned so much from being able to like, okay, I know, like, I don't know what they've experienced with white Americans.
Yeah.
And so how can I just let them know that I'm just another human, that's
Yeah.
had their
Yeah.
own struggles. And so I think just like letting that wall down and being vulnerable with
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
And some people are so scared of being vulnerable. That's not
Mhm.
ever really been a struggle for me. I probably am an overshare, honestly. And so I will sometimes be like, oh gosh, did I just totally dump on them and make them uncomfortable? But I try to do,
Like,
have discernment about it. I think I've gotten better over the
yeah.
years. But I do get really excited because I know what the Lord's done for my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's led us to like even us getting to know each other. I don't even know if I knew you in nonprofit before I knew you in homeschooling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't know you. I knew you homeschooling first, then
Okay.
nonprofit. I thought
Okay, that's what
maybe.
I think too. So we met each other through the homeschooling
Yeah.
co-op that we were both a part of.
Yeah.
And how long have you homeschooled? I think you've
This is
homeschooled longer than me.
7 years, I
Oh, we're
want to
cl- we're
say. So
close
yeah,
then.
I
So
started at
6, 7, 8,
19.
9, 10. Yeah, I'm on my 6th year.
Okay,
So
yeah,
yeah,
7 years here. So yeah,
yeah.
almost
So
7.
what made you decide to do that? Like,
It was really a God calling. It
Yeah.
wasn't like I was, like, planning this
Yeah.
because I
Because
remember
you have 4.
I have 4 kids now, so I was blatantly like, "Yeah, I'm never doing that." And the Lord has such a great sense of humor because I
Mm,
was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this." And I remember the day I was outside taking pictures of both my girls, before I had my son and I had my other daughter. I was outside taking pictures of them. I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get ready for school, and you guys are twinning. Yay, love it." And in that moment, the Lord was like, "You need to take them out of school." And I was like, "What? Me? No, not happening." And they went to school for the rest of the year. I was disobedient to the Lord.
mm,
And it was the worst year. Worst year, worst year. I found out after we took them out of school, like one of my oldest daughter was being teased like so bad. Like she
mm.
was so recluse and she was being teased so much and she would not tell anyone. And then my youngest daughter at the time, she was in school and just misbehaving, like spitting on bus drivers
Oh
and
my gosh, and she's
like
so sweet.
exactly like terrible behavior.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
gosh.
what is
I never
going on?
would have thought that.
But disobedience.
Mm,
And I was like, okay. So I would at the end of the year, I was like, Lord, if this is what you wanted me to do, you need to make this clear for me.
yeah.
And he did, made it very clear. And I was like, if my husband says no, then I know for sure this is not
I
happening.
love that so
And
much.
like Matt and I talked about it before many times, and he's always said no. And I remember I was like, this is it. I'm gonna ask, and this is gonna be my answer. And I'm thinking he's gonna be like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And I was like, "So, babe, what do you think about, like, homeschooling the kids next year?" He's like, "Yeah, we should do it." And I was like, "What? What do
He
you
was your
mean,
saving grace.
yeah?" And I was like, "Okay, okay, Lord." And that year, I took them out of school. I was like, "I'm not gonna be disobedient." I had no idea what I was doing, but
I
it
definitely
happened.
had no idea what I was doing,
Yeah.
and I cried a lot the first
Oh,
year.
yeah.
And, I still, like, every now and then something will happen. I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I doing it right?" Like,
Yeah.
is he really gonna be ready? Because mine is getting ready to graduate.
Yeah,
Like, he'll
yeah,
graduate at the end of this year, and I'm just like, "Oh, I hope he's ready. I hope I did it right. I hope I didn't
yeah,
fail," Hope he's not gonna have to relearn this and that.
yeah.
I've had a lot of panic moments,
Mhm.
because I have 4 kids too, but I didn't homeschool my other 3.
Yeah.
So we lived in a small town and had a really great school system, and I'm glad that I sent them to school.
Yeah.
And I'm not me and you, I think one of the reasons we connected was me and you are not the average homeschool moms.
Right.
Like, some of these homeschool moms be crazy, girl.
Oh.
Like, "Oh, yeah, we went outside and we picked flowers, and that was homeschooling for the day." That is
We're
not who
like,
I am.
uh, can't no.
Yeah, I
And it's
was
like, don't get me wrong, I do like a good adventure,
yeah.
but I'm like, we got to get some school
We
work done.
exactly.
Like,
I mean, I get so panicky thinking, "Did I get enough hours this
oh
year? If
yeah,
they ever come and, evaluate me, am I gonna have what I need? Is all
yeah.
my ducks
You
in a
keep
row?"
every
Like,
paper. I'm like, I got to
everything.
keep everything because just in case they
Just in,
come.
just in case, which I've known no one,
Yeah,
but just
yeah,
now that we're talking about it,
yeah.
it'll
It could
happen.
just happen. I don't
Exactly.
know.
Yeah, we had a flood at our house recently, and one of the boxes that got wet was a school box. And Jevin's like, "Are you throwing that away?" I said, "No, I am not.
You better
They
keep
will have to
it.
look through all of this wet, gross stuff
Yep.
because I am so panicky that that would happen, and
Yeah.
then I would be in so much trouble." But yeah, so I'm definitely not and I'm not the one that doesn't want my kids to interact with other
Right.
people.
Right.
Like, I did see that a lot in some of the co-op. You could tell some of these kids were very, like, reclused and
Yeah.
probably never leave their farm except for to come to co-op,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and that's fine for them if that works for them. I
Sure.
just never I wanted my kid to know how to be in the world, but not of the
Right.
world.
Right.
So I really want him, and he's super social. Like, he would have been crushed by not being able to be a
Sure.
part and have
Yeah.
relationships. And so we worked really hard to make sure he was connected. He was in
Yeah.
sports and in youth group at church, and
Yeah.
he works a job outside of the
Yeah.
home, and just to try to give him an outlet. He plays music and
Mhm.
all those things. And I am really glad that we made the choice that we did with him. And it's helped us, like, as ministers
Yeah.
too, because we travel a lot.
Yeah.
And so our schooling can be mobile.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to homeschool, but
Yeah,
it
for sure.
has been a challenge.
Yeah. And
It's,
that is challenging with 4 kids that are all like,
oh, I can't imagine.
still doing school and they all have different things they want to do. I have
Yeah.
one that's very athletic. So, I'm always searching out all the teams and
Yeah.
so he can be on. And of course you want them to be social. Like my oldest is outside of the home working and it's like
Yeah.
great. That's a good skill to have. You're not
Right.
going to be always with people of like that's like you
Yeah.
and think like you. You have to be able to say, I can work outside the home. I can be outside my home and I can be okay. I can
Yeah,
still be filled with the Lord, but I don't need to do what they're doing. And I can
exactly.
be an example. And
Mhm.
so that's what I really want for my kids. And my second oldest, she just loves to do everything, dance and cross country, and she
Yeah,
just
it's
loves
very
all the
outgoing.
things. Yeah, all the things. And she loves being with her best friend. And it's like they get to hang out and do
Yeah.
different things. And it's like it's so awesome to see their different personalities
Mhm.
and not they don't look dead to me. They're just like
Yeah.
excited about life and they want to do
Yeah.
things and
Well, and they've learned that through homeschooling, because you've done a great job with it, is they don't have to conform their personalities to fit in a
yeah,
classroom.
yeah.
And I think that does happen a lot where kids have to look a certain way, act a certain way,
Mhm.
really suppress themselves
Yeah.
to be able to be in those atmospheres. And so, and Nelson he was always an outgoing kid too, like super
Mhm.
outgoing. Funny story, like the year before we started homeschooling, well, it was probably a couple years because I think it was second or third grade. His teacher one day, I come up to see her, and she said, "I call Nelson Sue Heck." And if you ever watched the show The Middle, so
No.
the middle daughter is a lot, and but she is very well behaved and corrects herself. So Nelson is a self corrector. I was like, "How do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I will be getting on to him for talking too much." And she said, "And then he will talk too much. But before I can even tell him, Nelson, you have to stop talking, he comes to me and tells me he did and puts himself in correction. So he'll go sit in the desk in the corner because he knows he did something he wasn't supposed to. So he says, she said, I just call her Suhek and him Suhek. And then like I would pick him up from school and he'd get in the car and I'd be like, how was your day? And he would just tell me all the things. He's never been the kid that was like, fine. He still to this day comes home every single day and has to tell me
All the
everything.
things.
I'm gonna be so sad when that stops, but he would get in the car and he would just tell me about his day. And I was like, okay. And he was like, why do I always have to tell you when I do bad things? Like,
Like it just dawns on him like,
yes.
I really shouldn't tell you
Yeah.
that.
And then he was like, it'd be nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't come and get in line as quick as I was supposed to. It'd be something dumb, but he has always had this like conviction about him. And I've always prayed, God, protect that,
Yeah,
because I want him
for
to always,
sure.
I don't want him to let Satan like turn it on him where he feels
Yeah.
condemnation,
Yeah. Yeah.
but where he can always be honest and
Yeah.
know that it's better, just to, when you feel that, just go ahead and, make it right.
Yeah.
And so I hope he never loses that. And as they get to be teenagers, you always worry about that
Yeah.
because you get that need to like keep things from your
Yeah.
parents. And
Yeah. Like maybe I shouldn't tell him. And like you
yeah,
should tell me. You
yeah,
should.
you should always tell me.
Yeah.
But I've been thankful that I feel like I've been able to foster that more,
Mhm.
him being at home than being in the school
Yeah.
environment, because that's a scary thing. Like the way the schools are going too, like how much influence that they're having
Yeah.
over your children, and you don't even know. You don't
Yeah.
know what influence they're having.
Yeah.
So I get it. And I don't judge anyone that doesn't make the
Sure.
decision to
Sure.
homeschool. Everybody has to make their own decision as far as
Right.
that
Right.
goes. And everybody can't.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I was a single mom, there's no way I could
Yeah.
homeschool,
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that we've been able to work it out with our family dynamic.
Yeah.
And, more people are homeschooling than ever because it used to be only the weird kids. You
Yeah.
know that, like,
Yep.
and
Yep.
Nelson now when he tells people, because they'll say, "What school do you go to?" He'd be like, "I'm homeschooled." They're like, "You're not like homeschool
Yeah.
kid."
Yeah.
And so I take that as a compliment, only because I think they're thinking of like how we grew up.
Yeah.
That if you were homeschooled, it was weird.
Yeah.
You're probably in a cult or
Yeah,
something.
that happened to my son. He's on a basketball team for like a public school. And it's so funny because they were like, "Hey man, we never see you. Like, what school do you go to?" He's like, "Oh, I'm homeschooled." They're like, "Oh, you're like the coolest homeschool kid we know." And he like takes so much pride in that because he's like, you wouldn't think that he was a homeschool kid, but
Yeah.
he is. And it's just so funny to watch him interact with them. They all have phones and
Yeah.
like YouTube. And they're like third grade. They all
Yeah.
have phones. And they're like, dude, you don't have a phone? He's like, nah. He's like, they're like, oh, are your parents me? And he's
Are
like,
they me?
no, my parents are not me. He's like, so why don't you have a phone? He's like, because I'm not responsible. I'm like, thank you. You understand who you are as a
Wow.
person. But I was so proud of him when he said that. It didn't bother him. He just said, no, I'm not responsible. He knew. He's like, I'm not a responsible kid for my parents to go out, purchase a phone for me, pay the bill for me,
And then trust that you're
and
doing
trust
all
me.
the right things with the phone.
Right, exactly. So I
Yeah.
was like, good for you, buddy.
That
I'm
was so
so
good. I
glad
know you
that you
definitely
said
felt
that.
like, "Score, I'm doing something
Yes.
right today."
Yes. Like out of all the wrong things that I do throughout the year, that is one thing that I got. Okay.
That is
I'm
so
good.
good. I love that. And I hope that, we didn't let Nelson have a phone. He got a flip phone when he was in middle school. So we let him have a flip phone and told him he could earn, like, if he was responsible for
Sure.
that, if he kept up with it, if we didn't find any issues with it, like, then we would talk about something
Yeah.
else as he got into high school years. And I was glad that we chose that for him because he's 11 years difference from our older kids,
Hmm.
age wise. And is when cell phones just kind of came out with
Hmm.
like the iPhones and stuff. And I felt like we gave it way too soon
Hmm.
without understanding what we were handing to them.
Right. Right.
And we knew we were going to make a different decision
Yeah.
with him. And I've been really grateful that we have,
Yeah.
and that we
Absolutely.
kept that because I'm with you. You see these little ones with the cell phone and you're just like, oh my gosh, what are those kids really seeing?
Yeah.
Who's talking to them?
Yeah.
Do they even know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's scary. And again, everybody has to make that own decision for them.
Sure. And if
But
their parents believe that they're responsible and that's like, because they do public school. And so
yeah,
it's like maybe it's like if I'm late, you know who to go to. And
right,
I get it. I totally get it. But for us, it's like it's a no. It's
right.
a no. I'm with you all the time. You don't need one. You're
Yeah,
good. I
exactly.
take you everywhere.
Exactly. And that's a good decision to make. And I think you have more flexibility that way when you're
Yeah.
homeschooling too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be so afraid of what might happen at school
Yeah.
and think you got to give your kid a phone for that
Right.
reason.
Right.
And I've heard kids even use that as you have to give me a phone. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
if
know
I was a
people
kid, I
that do
probably would have
that.
said that too,
Yeah, like, "Mom,
honestly.
I need this phone because, just in case something happens, I gotta call you,
Yeah.
and I need this phone."
Yeah,
This one is
exactly.
better than the rest. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard to make those decisions, but I think that we're doing it right
Yeah.
and staying humble and just going before the Lord and
Yeah.
then showing our kids, like both of us working in nonprofit worlds, like you can still like do good things for Jesus and
Yeah.
big things for Jesus and be in your home and with your
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
and so I think our kids need to see that
Yeah.
because
For
that is
sure.
anti-world for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are definitely telling us that that can't happen. And I think they think with the smaller nonprofits too, like what is the change really happening? But they don't see what you and I see every
Oh,
day.
yeah. Yeah, like, when I look at numbers, because, of course, everything that we do there, it has to be
Right.
recorded numbers,
Yeah.
so, and I look at the amount of what we help with and what kind of money, and I'm like, "These people would never be able to afford their rent."
Right.
There were like, lights and utilities have gone up tremendously,
Mhm.
and people can't make
They
it,
can't.
and I'm just like, "Yeah, we have a big impact. This
Yeah.
little program has a huge impact."
Right.
We cover, like, 12 counties, and I'm like, "We have a huge impact."
Yeah.
Like, just this little
Yeah, where
plan.
would they go?
Yeah,
Because in our town, what you do, no one else
yeah,
does.
it's very
So
unique.
where would they go?
Yeah,
And I think that's why we built what we built too was just trying to figure out where are the ones that are falling in the gap,
right, right.
and so where would they go? And that's why we want to grow with like reaching the aged out fosters,
Yeah,
because it's a gap. It's a huge
yeah,
gap in our town,
yeah,
and we're all seeing it. And it's like, how do we get our hands around that?
yeah,
How do we make sure these kids know that we care, even
yeah,
though if their whole life they've been absolutely failed,
yeah,
and oftentimes end up they
yeah,
get to you,
yeah, and which I
so
don't want that. I don't want
exactly.
you to go
So
that
how do
way.
we do that where, we can get them before that? How can we be
Right,
preemptive?
right.
And even like the program that we're working with our church with Hope Center, how we're partnering with that, because you're
Mhm.
seeing that having a Christian men's rehab where these guys could come straight out of prison and go into these
Yeah,
programs that can give them training for jobs,
yeah.
help them with financial security, and all of that worked into a program that actually the partnership in that would even make it more successful.
Yes, yes.
So like just learning and growing and not feeling like you have to be an island. And that's a very much a church mentality, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Like a lot of churches don't want to work together because
Right,
they're
yeah.
afraid someone else is going to get the glory. I said it. I'm a part of a church. It's all good.
Yeah, but it's
But
true.
yeah, it is. But
Like
what if we didn't think that way, and what if we could like find ways like that like Hope Center and FACT is trying to like, how can we partner together and
Yeah.
make it more successful? How
Yeah.
can we get the aged out foster kids before they get to you? Like
Right.
always thinking that way of how we can start having bigger impact
Yeah.
and more preemptive impact,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that that's kingdom.
Yeah, it is. You know, because I want to be out of a job eventually. You
Right,
know,
exactly.
I want to be out of a job, and in order for me to be out of a job, we have to stop people from going into the prison system and or going to the court system, whatever, and coming out.
That's right.
And we have to stop that.
Yeah.
That has to stop. So
And we need Jesus people in these organizations, even when they're not faith-based,
yeah,
in these organizations that are doing God's work,
yeah,
you know, to bring that about. And I'll close with this, but I was studying, we're going through the book of Acts at church, and I started this new Bible, and they used the word emissary in place of disciple.
mm,
And I thought that was really interesting. I was like, why? Why did they choose that in this interpretation? And so I went and studied it. Emissary is a word used in place of disciple. I did find that out, but it in the secular dictionary, it means a secret agent.
wow.
It means an agent sit under someone else's authority
Mm-hmm.
to bring kind of diplomatic and unity to them. Like you're bringing another person kind of on board.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like in the secular form, it's like a secret agent that's sent out to bring others in.
Yeah, that's
And I was like, I love that.
yeah.
I love that so
It's
much.
like a mission.
That's right. I was like,
For
so,
us.
and I think for us, like as people who work in secular fields, you know, mine is a faith base, yours isn't.
Right.
Right. Yours isn't.
No, it's not.
And so like, and there's so many of our friends that work in non-faith-based agencies or just whatever their jobs, like your husband, my husband,
Yeah.
they are still emissaries in that the Lord has sent them into non-Christian environments
Yeah.
to make an impact and draw people.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that kind of just really resonated with me just now. Like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now that I think about the times where like my husband will say he did something at work and he was able to talk to someone and I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
that does.
He's a little secret agent.
Yeah.
I love it.
I can see it.
Yeah. And I think
awesome.
I think that's what we're all called to do, you
Yeah.
know, and I think some people get hung up on, well, I'm not working for in a Christian environment or, you know, I'm not a minister. I was like, well, you are.
Yeah. Everywhere you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. If you're a
everywhere.
Christian, we should be sharing the gospel
Yeah.
wherever we
Everywhere
are
we are.
and
Yeah.
shining a light and them seeing a difference,
Yeah.
you know. And so we're just going to keep changing the world.
Yeah.
We're going to keep being secret agents.
We have to.
I'm not so secret, but you know.
Well, yeah, not too much around here. But
Yeah.
maybe when you go out
Yeah.
other places. You know?
Right. Yeah. And you know, and we can still be a part of non-Christian conversations and environments because
Yeah.
I mean, we have to be in this world,
Yeah.
you know, and so, and be that light no matter where we go.
Because we have to get the lost. So
We do.
how do you get the lost if you don't talk to them?
Yeah. You can't just avoid them. We're
Yeah.
not going to be the homeschooling people that just never get out
Yeah.
and never talk to other people
Yeah,
about
you'll
Christ.
never reach people that
You
way.
can't.
You can't
Yeah.
because you'll always have that barrier. You always have that wall up. You'll always be like, stay back,
Yeah.
stay back. It's like you can still love people.
You can.
And you can still talk to people and you can still tell people about Jesus
Yeah.
without being like, sure, you can just come into my home and take whatever you want. Like,
Exactly.
you can still be there for people.
You can still be kind and
Mhm.
draw them in and be a friend to them.
Yeah.
And God, and I always pray like, God, show me creative ways to love people.
Yeah.
And because some people don't respond well to just what I would just communicate as love, like
Yeah.
how do I show them that I care about them?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really strange, you know,
Yeah.
where I've took like a coffee to a random person and just dropped it off at their work.
Yeah.
And they're like, why'd you do that? I was like, I just felt like maybe you would love it.
Yeah.
And that's all. And that I don't
Yeah.
stand there to preach at them, you know. I just thought
Yeah.
maybe you needed it
Yeah,
today, you
because
know.
that just shows that you were thinking about them.
Yeah,
That they were
absolutely.
on your mind,
Right.
and that's awesome. And
Yeah.
some people just think like, oh, that makes them feel special. Like
Right.
somebody thought about me
Mhm.
today to stop what they were doing to say, hey, I was thinking about you,
Yeah.
and I wanted to let you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
no strings attached.
Yeah, no strings
Just
attached.
wanna-
Just there you go, and that's
Yeah.
it.
And a lot of people have a hard time with that, but I think generally it opens up doors for conversations later,
Yeah.
you know. And so you just leave it until the Lord opens the door for something else
Yeah.
and just trust him with those
Yeah.
seeds.
And you just have to have your heart open for it.
Yeah.
You have to be ready.
And not too busy.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I definitely fall into that sometimes,
Yeah.
just being busy.
I think we all can be busy and some just get caught up in our own lives and
Yeah.
our own things, and we sometimes can miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
But we just need to know when we're missing opportunities to ask the Lord, hey, can you open my eyes?
Yeah.
My eyes been down. I'm not looking at you.
I forgot I was a secret
Yeah.
agent.
Please help me out. I need a reminder. Thank you.
Exactly.
So
Well, thank you for coming today for our take
absolutely.
two. And it's been a good conversation. And I'm glad we got to talk. We got to talk about things we didn't talk about the first
Yeah,
time.
that's true. We did.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Well, thank you for coming. And guys, if you haven't watched any of our podcasts, you can check it out on YouTube. We also are on Buzzsprout where we have audio versions. If you want to check that out, share it. You never know who is going to encourage, who is going to reach. So thank you for coming to Boom Roasted.
Bye.